You'll hear a lot of people say in mainstream media, only hunt when the conditions are right. And although I understand why they say it, I don't agree with it. Now, I know you guys are already down in the comments typing away about how you need to make sure your barometric pressure is right and your wind is right and the time of the year is right. And all those things are prevalent and important when it comes to being successful in the act of harvesting an animal. I am not sitting here telling you that if you just go in willy-nilly, you're going to be successful 9 times out of 10, because that's just simply not the truth. The truth is your wind is important. The pressure is important. The time of the year, the actual mood of the deer, all of those things are important. However, and there's always a flip side, we can't let it dictate our experiences and our time in the woods and the lessons that the woods teach us. So you can go on to any mainstream platform, whether it's here on YouTube or Facebook or the TV or however it is that you take in your tips, tricks, and knowledge from other well-versed hunters. And they're going to say all these things of only make sure you're in the woods at this time of year on this wind with this barometric pressure with this moon phase. And at the end of the day, it gives us this analysis paralysis where we sit there and we think to ourselves, well, the conditions aren't right today, or the conditions won't be right tomorrow, so maybe I should sit this one out. And if you're like me, you work a full-time job, you have kids, you have responsibilities, you have things in your life that dictate the things that you do other than what the woods are doing at any given moment. So if we listen to this advice, although it is good advice for actually killing an animal, it's going to make it so we don't get those reps that we need, those sits that we need, the lessons that we learn. It's going to create these high odds hunters who never see the woods, and when they finally become successful, they didn't really put all the puzzle pieces together when it came to actually formulating the plan, scouting the animal, figuring out what the terrain is, where the pressure is at, all of these key variables other than what the weather's doing or what the moon phase is doing. If I only hunted on the prime days, right, the days where everything lines up and all the stars align, the truth is I would only hunt 5 days a year, if that. I also don't want any of you thinking that I'm telling you that this is how you have to hunt. Because if you know anything about my channel, we preach on you hunt how you want to hunt. It's your hunt, your tag, do it your way. As long as you're being legal, ethical, and respecting your fellow hunter, you can do it however you want. This is simply my opinion on what I think people are missing out on by listening to mainstream media. Now, if these ways that you hunt work for you and it's what's most enjoyable to you, by all means, don't listen to anything I'm saying in this video. Because if you have found something that works for you, then you probably don't even need to listen to any of my videos. This is more or less for guys and gals who are just now getting into hunting, and unfortunately, but fortunately, media is this giant platform with all these tips and tricks, and I think a lot of times newer hunters are led down this road of there's only one way to do it, and I am trying to just completely nip that one in the bud. Now, as I've already mentioned, I understand the concept of being there on the correct days. I understand why it's harped on. I understand the concept of applying too much pressure too early in the season or on the days that things aren't right, and that is really applicable to smaller properties. So if smaller properties are all you're hunting and you have the luxury of making your schedule fit those ideal conditions, obviously stick with what you're doing. But if you're like me and you go and you adventure on thousands and thousands of acres of property, public, private, it doesn't matter, the idea is still the same. Getting out there when those conditions aren't perfect is actually what sets you apart in your woodsmanship skills development. You're going to get out there, and even when things aren't right, you're going to be able to figure out what other humans are doing. And that doesn't necessarily mean other hunters. It could be anybody who's out there using the property. You're going to figure out where those animals like to be in their day-to-day life, right? When we're talking about these ideal conditions, that's the reason we hunt them so hard and we get so excited about them, is because it takes the animal, whether it's a deer, turkey, bear, doesn't matter. It takes the animal and lets that animal feel like it can go outside of its daily parameters. It can go outside of the things that it knows keeps it safe because the conditions are right, whether that's the rut, the wind, whatever it is. We want to be able to soak all of that information in, and then in turn, when those conditions do turn right, we can kind of sit back and just rake in the fruits of our labor, so to speak, and be more successful more often. When we go out there on these days that don't necessarily fit the MO of the perfect killing day, we're learning so many more valuable lessons. Not every time I go in the woods am I wanting, expecting, or even needing to go home with an animal in the back of the truck. Where we really key in and dial in on our woodsmanship skills is when we go out there and we know nothing's going to happen. So we're more aware of what surrounds us. We understand more often than not what the squirrels are doing. We can hear them barking and running through the leaves. We can hear the blue jays. We start picking up on these little things. The boredom that we face on those non-ideal days because we don't think a deer or a turkey is going to come through our hunting area is honestly what teaches us to be more aware. We pick up on things of like, what does the wind feel like in my face, or does it feel like on the back of my neck? You hear all these people all the time in these hunting videos say, oh, I felt the wind shift and that's why the deer blew out of there. That's not just something you learn overnight. Now, granted, if it's just a hard breeze, of course you're going to be able to notice that. But the truth of the small wind blowing and picking up on those subtle keys, you don't develop that just from watching a YouTube video. You have to spend the hours. You have to log the hours on stand or at the base of a tree calling to a turkey or in a duck blind or whatever it is that you do. You have to log in those hours to actually be able to understand what the things are that are causing the changes in the variables around you. And if all you hunt is those high success days and those perfect condition outings and you're just seeing deer left and right, you're never truly going to understand what made you successful other than the conditions being right. And I think more importantly than understanding the natural world around you is learning to understand yourself. So many times I see guys get down too early or they get too impatient and I'm guilty of this one, getting on your phone because you get bored. Those non-ideal days teach you not only the discipline that you need to be successful when those ideal conditions come back, but it also teaches you about you and how to be okay being bored. And this is a topic for a whole nother day, but I believe that as a society, one of the biggest things that we are missing, believe it or not, is boredom. I think boredom is so crucial to us as human beings. We're all addicted to these dopamine dumps because we have social media at our fingertips and we're just able to completely entertain ourselves at all times. And when things get hard, because let's face it, hunting is hard. It's extremely hard. Not only is it hard to figure out where the animal is, but in those times where we are facing the uncertainty, it's hard for us to just sit there and accept what is. It's hard for us to just sit there and watch a bird grazing through some leaves looking for a bug. It's hard for us to sit there and listen to nothingness other than the thoughts inside of our own head. So it's really good for us to get out there and disconnect from the things that bind us and reconnect to the things that make us. Not every hunt has to be about killing. If it was just about that, what would the point of this all be to begin with? If we knew we were going to just go out there and kill a deer or a turkey or whatever game species every time we went out there, that would become a grocery trip rather than a hunting trip. And none of us want that. And if you do want that, you might need to reconsider what you're doing. But more times than not, when I'm in the woods on those less than ideal days, I'm out there to remember who I am as a human being. I'm there to clear my head from all the chaos that's around me in the day-to-day world. All the bickering and the fighting amongst human beings, it starts to really weigh on a human being. The ideal day does not have to be a deer in the bed of the truck. Sometimes the ideal day is that free therapy session sitting 20 feet up inside of a jack pine. That's what it really boils down to. Now listen, I understand there are a lot of you guys out there who have to develop a plan and adapt to the circumstances of your life, whether that is a busy schedule or kids or whatever, and you only get 5 to 10 days to hunt a year. So you're trying to line it up on those perfect conditions. And I'm by no means telling you that you're wrong. Matter of factly, if you know for a fact you're only going to get 5 to 10 days to hunt a year, absolutely dial in on those ideal days. I am more or less speaking to the guys who know that they're going to get to hunt every weekend or know that they can hunt every morning and evening, and they just choose not to because it's not the ideal conditions. Don't skip out on the less than ideal days because it's not beneficial, because that is the furthest thing from the truth. Sitting out there, sharpening your skills, all of these things compound, and over time, and it's not an overnight success story, so please don't ever wish that it was one, but over time, these skills compound and they turn you into a better woodsman. Not every hunt has to be aggressive. Not every hunt has to be, we're going right in the bedding area and getting it done today. Some hunts are literally just you in the woods, and that is the beauty of this entire thing. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to bump deer. Now, I'm not saying go in and just ruin the experience for everybody by trampling all over where you know other folks are setting up at. Or I'm also not saying that if you're hunting these smaller properties like I spoke about earlier, that you should go out there and put all this unneeded pressure on the animal. What I'm saying is don't be afraid to just go out there and enjoy nature for what nature is. Just remember, the woods don't owe you anything. They don't owe me anything. They don't owe him anything. They don't owe her anything. Nothing. There is not a single thing that the woods owe us. You need to go into the woods with the mentality of, if all I get today is the honor of being here, then that is perfectly enough for me. I hope you got something insightful out of this video. If you did, please leave a like and a comment down below. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. And until next time, see you on the hill.